Is the job market cooked, as a lot of people have been talking about? Is it harder nowadays to find a job than it was before? I think that most of us can agree that yes, right now, in this current time, it is harder to find a job. So this is purely anecdotal. This is just what I've heard from people I know looking for jobs. But from how it seems is that you really have to know someone to get a job nowadays. You have to know someone that works on the inside of whatever place that you're gonna go apply. Now, this doesn't apply to every single job. I'm sure, yeah, if you keep applying, eventually you can find some sort of work. I'm not saying that you won't get hired at all, but what I am saying is that it's most likely going to be a lot harder to get it than in the past. Because in the past, you could really just call a place, and I remember this. You could call someone or call a restaurant, whatever, construction, and say, hey, are y'all hiring? And it was just as simple as that. They would say, yeah, come on over. And that was essentially your interview. If you got the interview, you got the job, was how it worked. Now it's a lot more painstaking of a process. You have all these online portals you got to go through. Most of the time, they don't even tell you if you got denied or not. And yeah, there's so many applicants that it almost seems like there's just not enough to go around, at least as far as good jobs. Anyways, so I had a roommate that I was living with that needed to pay the rent, and I needed him to pay the rent. I paid my half the rent. This guy could not find employment to save his life, and he was trying. I lived with this guy. He was calling places. He was doing whatever needed to be done, and nobody was taking him. So one day I got fed up, and this guy didn't have a car, and I decided to drive him around. And I was thinking, like, okay, there's no way this guy can't get hired, because eventually, after you knock on enough doors, someone's gonna say yes. I shit you not, we spent from the morning to like 2 days straight, driving to like every local business in my area. He would walk in, try to get employment, and pretty much every single place said no, we're not hiring. And the places that were hiring, he ended up getting stuck in this bullshit onboarding process where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we need people. So he would have to go on some online portal, right? Some online tool. He would have to go on some online portal and he would get stuck in the hiring process, and then saying, okay, come back next week for your interview, your onboarding. He would show up and they would say, oh, the manager, the area manager is not here today. Come back here in a few days. He would show back up in a few days, and they would say, oh, it's not a good time, we're busy. And these people couldn't spend like 30 minutes to an hour just to get him in when they were struggling to find workers. This is for a gas station. So the jobs this guy was applying to are like not even, high level jobs at all. They're like general labor, landscaping, stuff like that. Another friend of mine recently graduated college on the opposite spectrum. This is one of the most intelligent guys that I know. Very, very nice person, good personality, good looking, very qualified, very hardworking. He's been working his whole life in, restaurants, getting through college. he finally got his degree in, I believe it's some sort of something to do with like marine science or something. Anyways, he has like a bachelor's degree in something else. Basically an overqualified person. Has a master's degree, has a bachelor's degree, associates, and other things. A long list of work experience. He's worked at many places for a long period of time throughout like this last 10 years. And he's having trouble finding work. And he's not even applying to like, oh, marine biologist. He's just applying in general to positions where he can use his, I guess his scientific knowledge, because he knows how to do tests and test water and do this. The skills that he learned go into much more than just marine biology. He has certifications in like a lot of things. He's worked in laboratories, been all over the world, gone to conferences, worked in labs. So he has experience working in labs, running tests, trials, everything. And he's having trouble finding work at some of these basic places. He recently messaged to the group chat and said he applied to over 100 places. So my buddy, he is overqualified and he's having a real hard time actually finding a job as well. Yesterday, another friend of mine, he was working at the college as a financial aid officer. He was having like some mental health crisis and they let him take a leave of absence. And this guy has a degree and everything. Very hard, another good guy. You know, I've known this guy my whole life. I know that he works hard. He took a leave of absence for about a month. They said it was okay. When he comes back to his job and they said that, okay, he had his position, they say, actually, no, you don't have your position. When they promised him he would. So he goes and applies to like over 100 jobs. None of them call back, none of them take him. He has a degree in engineering. He was telling me how hard it is to find an engineering job nowadays unless you're already an engineer that's been entrenched in the industry for a long time. So we have general jobs being hard to find. We have specialized jobs being hard to fill. We just have jobs in general. It's being harder to get hired now for some reason. I think that having your own business is the way to go. Nowadays, that's what I do. I work for myself. I'm out of the job race, so I can't say personally. Me personally, I never had trouble finding work. I would just apply to as many places as possible. I would open the phone book and literally go from A to B. Just see every local business in my area. I would just call them down the list until someone needed a fresh body. And that's usually how I'd find jobs. Or someone would tell me. It would be word of mouth, a combination. But I haven't had to get a job in the last few years. But I just hear from other people how rough it is. And I've seen it personally. People that are good workers, they have a good work history, but because they're just in a tight spot, you know, they don't have their former job and now they need one right now. It seems almost impossible that they can find one. Also, a lot of these shit jobs, so restaurant jobs and whatnot, used to be somewhat of a viable option. Working a fast food job, working at, you know, a lower paying job, used to be able to get away with it before inflation. Nowadays, I know people that are still working for $8 an hour. I know people in my family that are working at places that pay $8 an hour, and I'm like, why? And it's not enough to survive. That's like less than $2,000 a month. if you work full hours is basically, if you have like rent, you would have to basically have roommates. And after what little things that you could like spend your money on, food, whatnot, your bills, your phone bill, car insurance, maybe you have to rent a room, you'll basically have nothing. So if you work one of those shit jobs, it's kind of like there's no point. It's the same as being broke, except you just have extra responsibilities. So you're not even saving any money. You're just pissing it away as soon as you make it. So because of inflation, because of how high everything is, you almost kind of have to have a higher paying job if you want to even save any money. And that's not even enough. I know a lot of high earners, myself included, how hard it is to save money nowadays. Every little thing that happens, it's like you have to spend hundreds. Before inflation, spending hundreds was a big deal. That was a big deal. It almost seemed like you didn't have to spend that much that often. Even just spending a couple $100s at the grocery store, your basket would be filled to the top. Now you spend $200 at the grocery store and you barely have shit. You have maybe enough food for like a week. It's not enough. So that's why people are doing all these extra jobs. That's why there's people working 2 jobs. The 40-hour work week is not sufficient any longer. I've noticed the new thing is the 80-hour work week. I see a lot of these TikToks, these people, they work their regular job and then they'll go do like Uber Eats, they'll freelance, they have a side hustle. We live in the age of side hustles now. So even if you have good employment, now people are working on the weekends. People are finding a part-time job during nighttime. So I don't know, man. It's rough out there. You know, I really feel for the average worker is just fucked right now. If you're self-employed, you have a little bit more freedom. And it even affects self-employed people too in small businesses. People have less money to spend. I've felt the direct effects of this. During the holidays, so around Christmas and New Year's, it was dead. Barely any clients. We called it the Christmas crash. And I was even speaking, there was people that were interested in our services and they wanted the service, but they couldn't afford it because they ended up spending the last of their money on Christmas presents. Whereas in the past, yes, you could spend a lot of money on Christmas presents, but it wasn't going to break the bank. It wasn't going to put you in financial ruin just to buy some Christmas presents. Now, these guys, these family men, these workers, what little savings they had, they ended up spending on Christmas presents, and now they're completely flat, dead broke. And even the presents were of low quality. I noticed this year, barely anyone gifted Christmas presents to like adults. That's like, I didn't receive any Christmas presents. I didn't buy any Christmas presents for like my friend. I bought one for my girlfriend. I spent money on my girlfriend, that's it. But other than that, in the past, people would do like, oh, you know, buy stuff for like each of their friends. You know, they had to get something. Christmas was even for adults. I noticed this year it was just the little kids. Just the kids and the little kids that got stuff. Because really, I mean, we're just, okay, oh, you're grown up. Sorry, I can't afford to get you a present. Sorry. People used to have extra money laying around where they could buy each of their friends and each of their family members something cool, right? You know, you were considered a rude piece of shit in the past if you didn't buy something for your best friend or for your mom or your dad or your sister. Now, I think people understand, you know, nobody was really gifting presents. No one in my friend group was gifting presents. No family members really. other than the children. The children were the only ones that got gifts. And the gifts themselves also were low quality too. I noticed on Facebook a lot of moms buying like cheap, like secondhand toys, secondhand dolls. People are on Facebook Marketplace buying stuff now. Instead of buying brand new stuff, yeah, they go on Facebook Marketplace. I even noticed at the store, I was shopping around the time I was at Walmart. I saw people buying toys for Christmas. And it was like the shittiest, cheapest toys possible. Like, I shit you not. It was like the worst toys. Like, crappy foam, whatever. Like two toys per cart. They would have a cart and they had like 2 toys in it, and I saw them checking out. Like, they're not even buying anything else. They're just there to buy a couple cheap ass dolls, whatever, action figures. Dude, when I was a kid in the early 2000s, around the holidays, you saw families walking around in the store together. You saw people filling up carts, shopping carts, from the bottom all the way to the top. People were filling the carts. I remember being a kid and the Christmas tree. There was so many presents. And not just, I mean, I had siblings, of course, you know. I was just middle class. I was just, you know, middle class growing up. I wasn't rich, I wasn't poor. There was times when we were poor, there was ups and downs, of course, but I'm just saying generally that we had presents. Maybe not, we had sufficient presents to where we were happy. And that's all that really mattered. You know, each of us had our assortment of things, and I remember so many years being like that. And now I've seen what these kids get. They just don't get as much now, and the quality is just lower. The quality of the toys is lower too. You'll notice in the toy aisle, the toys aren't as big. They're smaller, they're cheaper, they're just lower quality to just keep the prices low so that people can actually afford to buy that toy. Kids have like less bicycles now, less just fun stuff to use outside. It's rough out there for the average person, for the average American, financially at this time. I'm just gonna be real, it's rough. It sucks. People really, they're not thriving, they're surviving. So that's why everyone has these side hustles. That's why everyone has these second jobs. That's why the job market is cooked. There's just not like as much to go around as there was in the past. People are staying at their jobs longer. People are staying at shit jobs longer. They're not moving because they're actually scared of having to find a new job, how difficult it can be. Some people it's easy. I do know that for some people it's easy to find a job. Like some people that are super qualified, that know the right people, that have the right connections. I get it. But I'm just saying for like the average person right now, it just seems like just much more difficult than it has been. I think it'll get better. I think that things will get better. I mean, they could get worse. I'm not like a fortune teller or anything. But I would put my money on things getting a little bit better. But we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds, you know. I hope we bounce back from this. Inflation definitely isn't going to disappear. We really just have to start making more money and just adjust ourselves for inflation. But I'm tired of going to the grocery store and buying like 3 grocery bags full of stuff and spending like 80, 90 bucks. Like, it's just getting ridiculous at this point. And that's the average person's perception, because it's affecting me. I make good ass money. I'm not gonna say I don't make good money, but there's less people that are able to spend their money in my business, that are able to afford my service because of this. It affects everyone. It affects small businesses. It affects the average person. If we didn't have inflation, if we didn't have all this bullshit, I can guarantee you I would be actually making a lot more money. And not to mention just the expenses of supplies, parts, maintenance. All the shit that I use to make money, I have to buy. Inflation affects that too. So the cost of goods to run your business is higher. Trust me, I'm working every day. I want to make money like not one of my problems. I'm working every day towards that. That's one of my main goals, is financial freedom, which I am slowly getting there. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of a rant. I'm just ranting, but I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way, and I just had to, someone has to say it. Anyways, like, follow, share, subscribe. This is Dark Warrior. Let me know how the job search has been in your area, how it's affected people that you know, etc. Leave a comment. Peace.